Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. We're meeting at the Public Works Building. We're going to stand, have our invocation, and pledge allegiance.
Lord, thank you for this day, and once again knowing that we need you to aid us in every decision we make, Lord. We need you to be Lord of our lives. Lord, help us not to think of ourselves, but to put on your mind and let you lead us, because you know what's best for this great city and this great country. I ask you today that you touch our hearts and our minds. Let the peace of God rule, Lord, to pass all understanding. I ask you to continue to bless this little city, and Lord, it comes through our submitting ourselves to you. We thank you for these things, Father, in Christ's name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll, please.
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hamilton. Here. Mr. Lally,
Here.
Mr. Wolf.
Here.
All right. Next is mayor's comments, and I actually did not have any today until right before I came and had a phone call. So I want to talk a little bit about why we're down to 2 people for our interview. There was a call made to one of the people, Mr. Day, had a call from 2 council members, and it was very disheartening to hear that he would have interviewed had he not received those calls. So I feel that, I know that we've got a huge political climate going on here, but I think our moral, our ethics in contacting a potential candidate is inappropriate to do prior to an interview. And I understand that people would like to know about these people prior to them being hired. And I do understand that. And we plan, I'm sure the council wants to vet everyone and vet them fairly. So those were questions that we could have asked in the interviews that we are not now going to be able to ask. So I just, want people to think about as we move forward that we want to get the best person in this seat, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. We don't have to do it today. We don't have to do it next week. We have to do it, and we have to do it fairly. That's all. Citizens' comments.
Oh boy, here I go. You're all gonna be surprised
All right,
today.
Miss Connie, you've got a 3-minute timer, dear.
Oh, I know. I only have 3 things here. All right. But I'd like everybody to know that the Dale Governor's doing good. There are 3 people that are there working together.
That's not your 3 minutes.
No, it's not. I speaking like that, I apologize. Okay,
It's okay.
number 1, I would very much like to have the council consider having a pickup, heavy trash pickup, about every 6 months. We end up with all this stuff that we don't, it's not yard clippings and it's not garbage. We have, like, I've got a bunch of gutter things, and everybody here's got stuff. And if we could have maybe every 6 months have a day where we could put all that junk out instead of around our house all the time. All right, that's the first thing. Okay, the second thing is, we need a mailbox in this town. Couldn't we get a mailbox, one mailbox, and put it someplace where everybody had access? So if you have something you need to mail, there's a lot of people don't have a mailbox out front of their house. And we need one, so we don't have to drive. Good Port St. Joe have to drop a letter in. And the third thing, one more thing. On our crosswalk signs, would it be possible for us to get the smaller yellow signs that says, I don't know exactly what it says, but it says Florida law, people in the crosswalk have the right of way. Because a lot of people, well, different states have different rules, but in Florida, pedestrian has the right of way. Maybe that would help. That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Captain Mitch Coleman, 210 Fortner Avenue. I'm the director of the Imbara Kingfish Tournament, 27th annual tournament we just had the last weekend in July. I was here today to thank our city employees, Tommy, Randy, June, everybody that, I see the faces, so I know y'all were there over the weekend. Our tournament this year, our revenue, net profit increased 95% over prior years. And the only way we did that was having the support of our city, having the support of our business partners. Thank you, Adrian. We had everything, all our door prizes, all our food, everything this year was donated by our business partners and the business community. And I just wanted to thank you again for all the help that you have given us. Our facilities are first class. We had boaters from Kentucky, Missouri, Texas. These were people, some for the first time to come in here and fish our tournament. They were very impressed with not only our city, how much we've come back from where we were, but our facilities and how well kept our facilities are. And again, just want to say thank you on behalf of the Mexico Beach Artificial Reef Association.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
Hey, what the captain said, Tommy, thanks for having your guys clean up down there. And I'm sure everybody knew that went down to the tournament. The day before they were down there, that sidewalk that went down, that guy spent all day out there shoveling that off, pressure washing it, making it good. And I talked to him about, and we've talked to this before, about building that up. And he said that something with St. Joe Paper Company is you got to try and get some more block. Is it really that expensive to put 2 more rows of block down at least to the end of the center dock along the end to keep all that crap from running down? Because you notice that one ramp at low tide, it's built up at least that high with dirt, and it's getting really hard to get a boat off. And that's been going on for years now. I always think the city could kick in enough money for 40 block to double it up down a ways and take care of that problem. But yeah, they did a really super job doing that. And yeah, everything was really, that was a nice turnout. That was really good. The other thing, the other day I get home and I get a little letter in the mail. You know, Julie went through a lot of work. She set up the whole thing over here for the City Appreciation Day. And I come home and I get this little letter. All I do is I spend a day over there helping her out. But everybody in the city, all your workers signed it. I get home and open it up. I'm like, what do I do now? I'm taking every day I'm getting letters. But, you know, it makes you feel good. Just like what she did for the whole city. So I want to tell them guys, thank you very much. Third thing, and I can just see why. Last night we had a planning and zoning board meeting. It was about, a lot of it had to do with contractors. And I can understand why. They don't care. Like, right here, Michael was asked the guy across the street from me twice now for 3 weeks to move the damn dumpster. It's still sitting there in the city right away. There's a trailer with a tire on the road. They don't care, and they don't clean up. My next door, the neighbor next to them, the guy comes down every once in a while from Georgia, mows his grass like every other month. He drives down here to mow his grass, and he couldn't believe it. His whole property, these are 0.36 acre lots. The whole lot next to him was covered with all the construction material for the houses being built. He didn't have a clue. Ripped up his whole yard. He was livid. And they're finally starting to clean it up some, but isn't there something with the building department that goes around and says, what are you doing? Why are you putting all this crap on other people's lots? Just like cleaning the street up. You could use a street sweeper right now trying to get the dirt out of the road. It's ridiculous. Isn't that part of your building department to take care of this stuff? You know, some of the guys that build houses, they fix everything up. They clean up, they have dumpsters, they have porta potties, they make it look decent. But some of these builders just don't care, and I can understand why. That's what was discussed last night about fining some of these people. And there's a perfect example of what's going on across the street from me. It's something you need to look at. It's just like driving down here today, on 15th Street, you got a house being built. Where's the porta potty? It's in the drainage ditch. I'm like, that's a good place for a porta potty, standing up in the drainage ditch on 15th Street. That makes a lot of sense. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Robert Hall, 215 Kimco. At the special meeting the other day, y'all voted on the counter. That was wrong. It cannot be done. I looked to see if it had been changed on the agenda or whatever. Nothing has been done. So where do you stand there?
I think that's going to be a discussion in our meeting. So we'll be answering those questions.
It wasn't on the agenda, that's the reason I asked.
I thought Michael was putting it on our agenda.
And even if it's a discussion, it can't be voted on until it's put on the agenda, is that right?
Pursuant to our resolution 21707, that is true.
Thank you.
But from my understanding is, it's really a moot point at this time because she didn't accept the offer. She made a counter offer. So it's gonna have to come back in front of this board eventually to vote anyway.
Yeah, and I was gonna provide that update at the end, and then you can decide your next steps on how you wanna do it.
Okay. I thought we were putting it on today, so.
We would have, it was just already published, and that all came up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other citizens?
Lorene Lindsay, 207 Florida Avenue. I'd like to just take a few minutes to speak to this council and to express my deepest concern. The residents of Mexico Beach deserve to have leadership that has the knowledge and the integrity to follow all the guidelines, local, state, and federal, in conducting business for the city. And as the council, you have a very important job to do to find us leadership that has knowledge and integrity. So I urge you to tread carefully because we have trusted you to do this and to find people to lead us through what's going to be a crazy year of building in this city. And we need to have people in leadership positions that we can depend on to be knowledgeable and to have the integrity to do this job correctly. So please, tread carefully.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Steve Cox, 225 Charles Corner. To follow up with what Lorraine said, as part of the vetting process for this very important role, the most important city employee, the council, frankly, a basic background check should come before an interview is granted, not after. My gosh, I worked 8 months for Gulf County driving a bus, and I had to go through an FBI background check as part of the interview process. I would think the city administrator for this town is a little bit more important than a bus driver for a public transportation entity. All 5 of you share in that responsibility. No one should be granted an interview when they have criminal history. Thank you.
I'm going to refer to council. From my understanding, and I may be wrong, so please let me know, that we can't do a background check until they actually signed a form for submitting to a background check. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So is this something we want to put out in our process of application, is to have their letter?
Yes,
for
have
background?
them sign, execute it, and then do the background check.
Do everything before
And then-
we grant an air? I'd like to do that. Can we, oh, well, I can't. I would like to bring that to the table, or can we just say, yes, that's what we're gonna do? You tell me.
I think you need to.
Means it's
give
not on the
direct-
agenda, and,
I think you need to give direction to Michael.
okay, I can give direction to Michael for that. Please, put in a background check form for them to sign with their applications. And anyone who wants to enter, continue on the process, they need to submit one as well.
So I'll go ahead and send that form off to both the 2 candidates that you're interviewing today, for example. Is that what y'all want to do?
Yeah, we should get it to them as soon as
Just
possible.
have them sign it
Just
before
have
they
them
come
sign
in.
it, and then
We
we'll,
obviously will have the results today.
Correct.
So, right.
yeah.
Okay.
Sign the consent.
Okay. Any other citizens' comments? Okay, I'll close the citizens' comments. We're gonna move to the consent agenda.
Before we move on, just real quick,
Yes.
on your comments, can we make, the table makes a comment on your comments?
I think y'all are at the end of the agenda.
I'd like to make them right now, based on, you've already sent a message out there that 2 councilmen called one of the people that need to be interviewed, Mr. Day, and that's the reason why he dropped out. We're transparent. Who called him,
I called everyone.
okay?
I did too. I called them and said, I appreciate you putting in the application for me. I didn't ask no questions. All I did was tell him thank you that
I didn't ask questions, I just thanked them for applying, talked to them about applying, asked if they had questions for me.
I think it's fair to the citizen rather than just send a message out there to be transparent. We're gonna be transparent, let's talk.
Okay?
Thank you.
So, all right, so here's what I was told by Mr. Day. He received a phone call from Mr. Welly, and then Mr. Welly was warning him about the situation here and his background check, and they discussed that. And he said immediately when they hung up, he said he was very nice, by the way, immediately when they hung up, Mr. Smith called. And he said it almost seemed like they were in the same room. And that was his comment. And I asked him, I said, sir, would you have continued your interview today had you not received that phone call? And he said, yes, ma'am, I would have. And we had another long conversation about his experience. And I thanked him for applying. And I told him that if he chose to try to apply again, that, you know, the applications are open till filled.
And he called you.
I called him.
Oh,
Yes, sir, I called him. I was in the.
same thing me and Mr. Wheeler did.
Yes, because he dropped out. He was not a candidate anymore. So I wanted to find out why he was not a candidate. And I called Miss Catherine as well this morning. And nobody had called her. So, you know, no one had called Catherine. I actually talked to Miss Vickers this morning as well. And no one had talked to her. Mr. Day is the only one that was called, that I called, of those 3 people that said that he had received a phone call.
I called all 3 that were interviewing today, yesterday afternoon.
So, that's transparency enough for you, Mr. Wolf?
Yes, ma'am?
All right.
That second part of my request, yes.
All right. Would we like to move on with our agenda?
As soon as you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda. June 30th, the minutes and the minutes for July 12th. Do we have any discussion, changes, or approval?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Tammy, Mark, any nays? All right, mark that as unanimous acceptance of the consent agenda. Moving into our regular agenda, we've got employee of the month. Tom?
Good morning, Mayor, Council, and everyone here. I have the pleasure this morning, first of all, not always the employees that see out in the field are recognized as employees of the month. And it is my honor to be able to present this to mine and Mr. Glenn Davis, the secretary, January 13th, and I said that right. She told me I did. And all of y'all know me, I'm bad about pronunciation. But first of all, I want to present you with this plaque. She does a wonderful job, and not only does she benefit me and Mr. Glenn, she benefits the entire staff. She helps everyone, the ladies in the office. She has just been a great asset to the city of Mexico Beach. And anytime you see her, she's got a smile on her face, just like she does now. And trust me, she helps me tremendously. So with that said, I also have another certificate I want to give her, and it is for a full day off. Now, I did explain to her a while ago, this is only good on Saturday or Sunday. A full day off Saturday or Sunday, but no, it is well deserved, and I couldn't think of anybody right now that yeah, you have totally earned this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. No, really, I do appreciate it. I live in Mexico Beach too. I live in the Palms, and I love living here. And when I got the job here, it was a great day for me. So thank you guys. I try my hardest. I do.
You do a great job.
You do. Okay. Next on the agenda is Save the Bay letter. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Last meeting, I believe it was, we had a presentation regarding Save the Bay. It sounded like there was consensus to go ahead and send a letter of support along with the other municipalities that have done so already. That letter is drafted and in the packet for you. So we're just looking for a vote on whether or not this is the letter you want to send or if you want to make any changes to edits.
That looks good to me. So we'll send that on, Michael.
Yeah,
Do you need me to sign it today? Before we
Yeah,
get in there?
I guess technically a quick vote to authorize
Okay.
signing, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's not a voting vote, but yeah. So, Tammy, would you call the roll for a vote on this?
Okay. Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Need a motion to.
Well, it's not necessarily, it wasn't an agenda, voting item on my agenda, but we can take a motion then.
I'll make a motion to approve the Save the Bay letter.
Second.
All right. Tammy?
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton. Yes. Mr. Welly.
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Okay. Next is the Searchgate project. Thank you.
Dana,
Dina?
just Dana.
Just Dina?
Justina with Atkins. Michael, did you want to give a background?
Sure. So the item before you is in regard to the Parker Bridge floodgate. It's an HMGP project. We had one of those a little while back in terms of those pumps that we recently approved. Previous councils have given thoughts on this project. There are thoughts out there about will it work, will it not work, is this what we want to spend money on, is this not what we want to spend money on? So the time has come for the council, and I've asked Dina to give some background and your options. The time has come to kind of come to a consensus one way or the other. Do we want to start the project, or do we want to inform the state that we're not going to do the project? Once you do that, you are able to request, but it is not guaranteed, that those funds get reallocated to another project, such as our 80-acre stormwater project. So that's the quick high-level overview. I'll let Dina really dive into it.
So this grant is through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. It's separate from our other FEMA public assistance funding. This is a specialized funding source. The city applied for several grants and got all of them. This is one of them. Back in 2019, I think, is when we applied for it. So it's been in the works. The first phase, it's a phase project. You can only do it if you don't have construction ready drawings. You have to go through a phase 1 planning, feasibility, and design. Then you can come back and get the phase 2. So that's where we are currently with this project. Is phase 1, which would be the planning, feasibility study, and design, would be what you would move forward with, and that is an amount of 1.1 million. Wanted to point out too, there is a cost share with these grants, a 25% non-federal cost share. Now, so that would be roughly 300,000, would be the city's portion of that 1.1. We have also applied for secondary kind of supplemental funding to cover that match and have been awarded that. but I wanted to kind of throw out the caveat that we know that we've got it for phase one. There is a deadline to implement phase one, and we are kind of coming up against that deadline. So if we move forward, we'll have to apply for an extension most likely for phase one, and we may or may not then get that match funding because it's up to the agency to decide whether they then extend it. So really, like Michael said, what you're making a decision on today is, do we withdraw our request for that funding, potentially ask to reallocate that funding to another project, or do you want to go ahead and keep the funding and move forward with phase one? But I think regardless, it requires a decision. The state and FEMA are asking what Mexico Beach wants to do. So that's why there's a draft withdrawal letter in the packet.
Bring it to the
So Dina, this project is to protect, like in Michael, a lot of the water backed up the 8th Street Canal and that caused a lot of flooding. So this project is to protect that from happening again.
Well, this location of this project, so what it conceptually we would be doing a feasibility or planning study for is to put a floodgate at the Parker Bridge. So imagine the marina that's open to the Gulf. And during Hurricane Michael, water came up through the marina and got behind on the north side of Highway 98 because the canal crosses under Parker Bridge. So the thought was, if we put a floodgate, if we knew there was a storm coming, we could put a floodgate there at Parker Bridge. We can't really do much to stop the water coming in on the south side and affecting properties. But then potentially that floodgate could be closed and the neighborhoods on the north side of 98 near the Parker Bridge, we don't know how far the benefits would extend, would then not have that surge coming up through the canal. So theoretically then it would minimize flooding for that area. I think probably all the way to 35th Street, maybe a little bit further east. One condition of the funding is we have to show that a benefit to cost analysis equals a 1.0. And so to boil that down, basically, we don't know yet. It looks like it could, but that's very conceptual. So they awarded the funding. This phase one piece, we would have to then really narrow that down through engineering design, say exactly how many properties this would potentially benefit and protect, and then compare that to cost and show that it does in fact meet that 1.0 threshold. And if it doesn't, really the funding wouldn't go past that point.
I read that approximately 132 homes.
Mm-hmm. But very conceptual estimate, yeah.
Plus or minus 10.
Plus or minus, yeah, 100.
A Hurricane Michael, this does nothing, correct?
So, I don't know the answer to that, because we haven't done the study, but I think Hurricane Michael, water came up and over Highway 98. So this may protect up to a point, but then if you had 19 feet of storm surge, it's a matter of elevations. If the water gets over Highway 98, this would not protect.
So I've always thought this project was silly, because water hits a wall and goes around
Go
it.
somewhere else? Yeah.
So I'd be in favor of reallocating it somewhere else, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I read through it, and the justification back in 2019, I'm not too sure how deep that was and how logical it was. I think there's more benefit to the 80 acres, and you could probably, is that true?
Well, that's again, tough question to answer, because we haven't done full-blown planning and study and design. So I don't know for sure, but certainly that would be an option if you decide to withdraw here, that we could ask for those funds to be allocated to another project that the council feels has more benefit.
Center of the town is 8th Street. Is 8th Street another option?
That is something that I know has been discussed in previous council meetings about this project, and I believe the stormwater grant that we have, HMGP grant for the regional extension, included an element of 8th Street and trying to close that off. So that actually might be a good way to kind of shift the funding, but still maintain the gist of the project. So It's
The limit,
yeah, putting a
increase it.
floodgate in a different
Yeah.
location.
Right.
Mhm.
I just, when you put a gate up, you stop the water from going in and out, and that's my concern. And, you stop the water from coming in, also you stop the water from going out. And that water comes all the way from Gulf County. It comes around Park and goes there. That water has to go somewhere when we get a big rain. If we put a gate there, we're stopping the water from going out. I know we're trying to stop it from coming in, but we do stop it from going out. And you're gonna flood the home.
Yeah, it definitely would work in the opposite way too. But to clarify, I believe the project would, you would install this floodgate, but it would be operable, movable, so it would not be closed all the time. The city would get to decide when it's open and when it's closed.
So if we request that this money be allocated to a different project that's similar, we still have the 25% that the city would need to pay?
So with HNGP, there is always that 25% non-federal cost share. We applied for this supplemental, basically CDBG-DR match to cover the 25% for the city, and it was approved for this specific project. I think it was also approved for some of the others. So if you decide to withdraw, I am not sure what happens with that 25% match. If you decide to withdraw and not use this, obviously that match goes away, you don't need it. I am not certain whether we can then move the match if we move this to another project. I think the order or process though is you have to make a decision first. There is a risk that they may not allow the city to reallocate, but certainly once you withdraw, that is something we can assist the city to request, and we could request for the match as well. There's just no guarantee. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any public comments?
Ken Lindgren, Wells by St. Francis. I have a question. If this was allocated to the 80 acres, would that help the western part of the city, or is that 80 acres really only going to resolve issues on the eastern?
It probably, yes, if you reallocate it, there is a limit to what benefit area and service area is, so likely it would shift that benefit area eastward because the 80 acres is literally on the other side of the city limits, so that's possible.
So I guess I would recommend, if you decide not to go this route, that you look at funding something for the western part of the city, at least a study, since if you shift it, it's only going to help one part of the town. Thank you.
Todd Crease, Colorado Drive. This is another one of those stupid ideas. This is a no-brainer. It's not to do this. It's ridiculous. I mean, I look at this. You're already spending what? $290,000 for phase one study, and then your other cost is $7.5 million. You got to pay 25% of that. Where are you getting this money from? I mean, that's idiotic right there. The big question I have is the 80 acres. Right, maybe you can answer this quick. How much money was allotted towards that 80 acres already?
I'm speaking out of turn, I need Ryan. I think it's approximate, so the total project, it's phased just like this one. I believe the total project is between 8 and 9 million.
Is that 25% we got to pay for that also?
Yes, and with that one, we did ask and receive an award for CDBG, a different grant funding to cover that 25%.
Okay, so that's in there already. That's what I thought. I thought that got said like a couple months ago, I think. But even your 25%, if you shift this somewhere else, that's still a chunk of money. You know, and all your discussions at your budget meetings, garbage trucks and this, and water pipe repairs going to Tyndall, and sewage repairs and everything else, that's a chunk of money. So, I mean, I can understand stuff, and I know when your stormwater thing, the whole idea was to block off 8th Street. Once the canal got done, going into Salt Creek and going the other way into the 80 acres, 8th Street was supposed to be blocked off under the bridge. So that kind of takes care of that half right there. So it's going to be your decision to make, but I mean, 25% is still a chunk of money right now, but I don't know where you're getting that from. But this other idea is stupid.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay. We'll close this public discussion and we'll go to the discussion at the table.
I personally feel like we should go on with this project because, you know, hurricanes are always a big threat to us. A lot of effort has been put into this project already. Things are planned. I would hate to restart the whole thing in a different direction. There is a possibility we can get a refund on the money that we have to put into it. From what Dina just said, that's a possibility. We could get reimbursement. You know, the hurricanes are always going to hang over our heads and the threat of that. Anything we can do to protect the large majority of homes, you know, get something started and get moving on it, and not just always postpone and do another plan. I think we need to move forward with this plan.
Mr. Smith?
I'm not in favor of it.
Mr.
Yeah, nothing more than I've already said.
Okay. Mr. Wolf?
You know, I kind of agree with Ms. Hamlin's a zero project, but I also understand a gate is not going to stop the water, it's going to divert the water. So I would be a no on a project.
Dana, do you know if these types of projects have been done in other cities similar to ours and if they were successful?
So floodgate projects have been done in other locations. I believe there are some through the same funding source that have happened or in process post-Hurricane Harvey in Houston. Other than that, I can't think of off the top of my head, but I will say that FEMA was familiar with the type of project. So I do believe they've heard of this before. So, yeah.
Okay.
And just to clarify on the match, so again, we do have 25%, the 25% match funded currently. The difference between this project versus some of the other HMGP projects that we have going is that really nothing's been done. The city hasn't moved forward with this one. So that's where it gets a little bit uncertain in terms of we have this deadline, but we haven't done anything with the funds so far. So they may or may not then decide to extend the deadline, in which case we would lose that 25% match. For the other projects, you know, nothing physical has been done, but for example, the regional stormwater, you all did put out an RFQ for that planning phase to happen. So you can show that we are doing something when we go to ask for the extension. So just wanted to make that more clear.
So will you kind of clear up what a feasibility study is and how that would work once, if we went forward and did a feasibility study, how would that work?
So it would be the same process. The next step would be, obviously, we would go back to FEMA and the state and say, the city wants to move forward with this. The next step would be to put out your RFQ, request for qualifications for that feasibility study, the engineering design, and planning. And the feasibility study would basically start gathering the information to support that benefit cost analysis and look at, okay, we have some preliminary engineering. We think based on that, this is how many homes would be benefited, and here's our estimated construction cost, and look at whether it meets that threshold of benefit to cost of 1.0. It would also then move into full design and final design and permitting. Basically, it would get you ready to then put this out for construction and actually implement it.
So if the feasibility study came back and it really did not match or benefit us, the cost benefit, how would that work?
So if your benefit cost comes back under a 1, then HMGP will not move forward with the funding. So you would get paid, you know, what you've expended to that point, but then essentially at that point, the project would not move forward, you wouldn't go to construction, you wouldn't get additional funding.
Okay.
I had one more if I could.
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
What happens to the houses from the Parker Bridge to the mouth of the canal?
This project would not benefit
It'll
anything
hurt
on the
them.
south side.
It'll most likely hurt them by causing water from not being able to go further in.
Yeah. Again, that's kind of outside what I can speak to, but certainly that would have to be considered and looked at with the feasibility study and design.
Any other discussion at the table?
Were you involved in this project from 19? or do you come on it later?
So I helped in 2019 to actually write some of the grant wording and the BCA analysis to get it submitted, yes.
How do you stand behind it right now? What's your position?
Well, that's a tough question. So again, that direction came from the previous council. They identified this. There is certainly a problem, right? There is a risk to those homes. So they identified this as being a project that they wanted to move forward. And I don't know if everyone in the audience remembers, but I think it was back in 2019, we held community workshops at the fire station in Gulf County, and then we had at the Gumbo Festival here in town, we had some boards up, and so the public got to weigh in and prioritize. There were many projects that we were considering for the grant applications, and the public was able to weigh in and kind of like put post-its and comments. So we took the top 5, and those were the ones that then moved forward if they had that stakeholder support, local support, and then the council's direction. And you know, as far as where I stand, if this council chooses to withdraw it, we will absolutely withdraw it and move forward. If this council decides they want to proceed with the project, then we will also assist to make that happen and ask for those extensions to allow it.
With a level of confidence, can you assure us that the feasibility study would not cost the city anything?
No, I
Would be
can't.
totally reimbursed?
I can't say that because, so I can say we've gotten the 25% match awarded. The concern is though that we're running up against the deadline to actually implement phase 1, and that's where the uncertainty is. If we can't meet that deadline, and I believe this project, you would have to put out an RFQ, and then they would have to actually implement that, do the feasibility, do the design. That's a long process. So that's where the concern is. If we can't meet the deadline, then the funding for the match is uncertain.
Is there a deadline date?
I asked
Yeah.
Ryan that question, and he has not texted me back, so I apologize, I don't know, but I can follow up with the council on when that deadline is.
When we first initialized this, then we were trying to back the water up and make it go uphill, all the way through Panther Creek back to the coastal. That's one reason we come up with the floodgate. It's not trying to make the water go out of 8th Street and back it up and go out through Panther Creek and go back to the intercoastal. But we got all that water coming in from Gulf County. That's too much water, after we found out that, in my opinion, and that's, we get all the water from Red Gulf County that comes to us.
Yeah. And it's, I can't say where that line is, Councilman Smith, because you know, there's the 8th Street Canal, so some of that water goes out there, but it's all connected through your analysis and to the marina. So I can't say for sure how much of it comes to this point, but yes.
It comes through Gulf County, it comes by Harmon's house, goes around Harmon's house, makes a T right behind the trailer park, Rustic Sand, and then come around and comes to the 8th Street Canal. And what we was hoping at the time was put a gate and back it up, and at the T, make it go out through Panther Creek and go to the coast. That was my understanding. Is that yours?
Yes, yeah.
Up here. I might add that. Up here.
Any other discussion at the table? All right, so we'll open for a motion.
So I'm confused what a motion to approve
Oh.
is. Is a
Okay.
motion to approve the letter or the project?
I would say,
Those are two different things.
yeah, that's true. So let's start with one of them. Let's start with the motion for the project. And if that fail, if we don't want to go with the project, we know we're going with the letter. How's that?
Okay.
So let's do a motion for the project.
So I'll make a motion that we plan to implement phase 1 of the project.
Do we have a second for implementing phase 1 of the project? No second? All right, does anybody want to make a different motion?
I'd make a motion to formally request withdrawal of the project.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to withdraw from the project. Tammy?
Okay. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Real quick, before we move on to, is it the consensus of the board to go ahead and start the process of requesting to reallocate the money as well?
Yeah.
Because those are two steps.
Is that in this
Do we
letter?
need a?
That'll be a step, it's
Yeah.
not in the letter, it'll have to be a separate step, but certainly we can take that direction.
Do we need a motion for that, please?
And that can be time sensitive, so we need to move along with that.
And you could tie it into going ahead and sending the letter to.
Yes. So do I have a motion for sending the letter and seeing if we can reallocate the funds?
I make a motion that we send a letter and ask for a request for allocation of the money. That project.
Second. Is that enough? Is that what we need?
Yes.
Thank you, Tammy.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, moving on in our agenda, we have Mexico Beach Pier change order. Dina, you're up again, dear. With Atkins.
No.
Okay. So we have a change order. This is change order number 5 for Baskerville Donovan. They are the engineering firm that is working on design and permitting for the replacement pier. This change order would be to allow them to move forward with an ecological assessment modified to fit FEMA's format. If you all remember, we just recently did a similar task for the jetties with Dewberry and MRD. So essentially, FEMA has said that they have to have this ecological assessment in their format for them to proceed forward with the project for the environment, from the environmental side and the reviews. So this would allow, through the change order, would allow BDI to then perform that work so that we can give that to FEMA. The total estimated fee that this would add to the contract is $20,000. However, it is based on time and materials, so it would be based on, I'm assuming the rates that BDI has already got under contract and whatever time it took them to do, then it would be based on those rates. But the estimate from BDI is an additional $20,000. FEMA has told city staff, Michael and Atkins, that this would be reimbursable, provided, of course, the caveat that we follow all of the compliance requirements. And it is something that FEMA is requesting. Typically, they would do the ecological assessment, but they gave the city the option to do it themselves with the hopes that then it would move forward faster, because FEMA is certainly understaffed currently with some of the other disasters they're responding to.
So,
I'm sorry, if the estimate comes in over $20,000 when it comes in, it'd still be reimbursable like
I mean, yes, it should be eligible for reimbursement.
change orders, I like the estimate
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, so I think I understand what you're asking. I believe their contract is based on time and materials, so it would be based on those rates. So FEMA did say it was eligible, so as long as they follow the rates and can provide the documentation.
They'll reimbursable,
Yeah.
even if it goes over 20,000.
Right.
Okay.
and if it went over 20,000, would it come back to us for another change order, or we just move forward?
Based on
That's
what you're
his estimate.
approving, he said that the time and materials change order, so I mean, you're probably better suited to answer that.
You can, I would say, phrase the motion as you approve the change order not to exceed a certain threshold, and if it exceeds the threshold, it would have to come back, even if it was for $1.
All right.
It's an estimate increase, but it would be based on the time and material, so if it goes over it, you can
Then
reimburse.
they'll be reimbursed, I know.
Ultimately, we should be 100% reimbursed by FEMA.
That's what it reads.
That's how it should happen.
All right. So we'll move to open the public discussion there. Anyone have any comments on the pier change order?
I'm Bob Chow, I live at 411 Los Yesa Drive, and I want to speak to the pier itself. I don't care what you put out there, as long as you get a pier. You put it steel, concrete, wood, whatever. There was a question about the stability of the pier, whether it was going to be a project that would be the right kind of project for the city to undergo. And the last number I've seen is $10 million. I saw actually the breakdown at one time for the money. Is that what the project is going to cost now?
Brian, I imagine. And I know you got that.
So the current FEMA estimate is 7.5 million.
How much?
7.5 million is the current FEMA estimate. There's no guarantee that's the actual cost, but that's what FEMA has estimated.
We've got all the permits we need up to FEMA, is that correct? Court, whatever people are involved for the state and federal agencies.
So the design engineer has put together the permit packages. This task order for the ecological assessment is to allow the permitting process to continue. So it's in process but not approved yet.
Okay, so we don't have any insurance of any of the money yet, is that right?
It has not been obligated, that is correct.
Okay. Well, the question that I'd ask is just, is this a project that, is realistic to move forward with? I know that ecological studies, that should be part of really the studies I think should be done out here. I have a hydrology background myself. And so I think the big thing there is that we need to make sure that however it's going in, it's going to stay this time and not going to be a mess like it was last time. And it's going to be put in properly with the geotech surveys and that sort of thing that needs to be done there. And I think that some of the studies up to this point is there has been a sonar study done yet for the wood debris in the sand.
Yes, there has been for the marine debris, the debris in the water. Yes, Dewberry has conducted a study to establish where debris is in the water, correct?
Well, our family owns a lot out there on 37th Street, so love to be able to see something go in out there. I love to be able to fish, and I just want to speak positively for the project if it's feasible and from a financial standpoint, really. But ecological studies, I think that's one of the latest moves from FEMA to get this type of project done. Is the best I can determine. So I'll speak positive as far as let's get something going. Let's get the pier in. Thank you.
Rock Creek, Colorado. Maybe you can answer this question quick. Is this the study for like 6 months ago where they said you can't have the bathrooms on the pier and have you redesigned to move the bathrooms off the pier, that group that came up with this? Is this what this change order is for?
It's not for the same study. This is something that's been requested by FEMA. They want to see an ecological assessment that covers specific elements. BDI, the firm that's designing the pier, has done kind of a preliminary ecological assessment. FEMA has reviewed it and said, we want to see X, Y, Z, and that's not in there. So they are having to comply with what FEMA's requesting.
Okay. Just curious, quick question. I know when you had to redesign it here 6 months ago, whatever it was, to move the bathrooms off, they came back and they submitted fish cleaning stations on the pier to dump into the water. That just seems like the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. And something everybody sitting here need to take a look at, because that's how your design plan went in. This was brought up before. Never had fish cleaning stations on the pier, and it was just the most stupidest thing. Can't have a bathroom on the pier that plumbs to the city, but you can have fish cleaning stations that dump directly into the water. You guys need to go back and rethink that one.
I wouldn't agree. I know we didn't dump into the water on the fish cleaning station. If it did, I think it was way back this side. It went into a grinding pump and then it pumped.
I know that the current plans show the fish cleaning stations, and I know that that's been a request from DEP. They want a specific way of dealing with it, and I think you're right. I think it either pipes down to the bottom so it doesn't release at the surface, or it does have a grinder and it may go into the, but that's a good question for BDI.
We're a long way from that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments from discussion? Well, we can close that, close the public discussion, and we'll go to the table.
Well, I just feel like if FEMA is requesting this and we want our money from FEMA, I think we should take a hit on that one, and that we should go with this piece, with the ecological assessment for the peak. I think they're giving us a heads up on that one.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Have we paid for this before? One time or something close to this way back when,
The jetty, we just did it for the jetty, yes.
and not for the people?
Right, yeah.
I agree with Ms. Hamilton. If FEMA wants it, let's get this project moving.
Yeah, I agree also.
So let's talk about doing a motion here for the change order for the Mexico Beach Pier.
We had to put the 20,000 in there. Yeah.
$20,000 change order. Estimated $20,000.
I make a motion to approve the change order to $20,000.
Do we need to put in there, Clint, your little statement for overage?
With the knowledge that FEMA is going to reimburse anything over the 20,000, the 20,000 and anything over the 20,000.
I make a motion to approve the change order to $20,000 and that FEMA going to reimburse us to $20,000 and over.
That sounds good.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Tammy?
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Whaley,
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Okay.
Just one quick thing to the preacher. I hope me and him get throw a cast net off that here before me and him both die.
I hope so too, Mr. Smith.
I know that's what he wants.
Okay, moving forward, next on the agenda is the council meeting, audio equipment. Mr. Manning.
Alrighty. This was an item that came up, I believe, at the last town hall, and some some things that the community's been talking about. The proposal before you was facilitated through Bay IT, who we rely on for most of our technology needs. It's $14.99 for the actual speaker system, and then we were checking with them yesterday about this. The speaker system that's proposed for the $14.99 will improve the volume quality for the live stream. We were double checking because we also want to improve the quality in the back of the room. So they just told us it would be about an extra $200 for that. So ultimately what we're really looking for is $1,700 to move forward with, not the $14.99. So that we can improve audio quality on the stream and the back of the room.
And do you know how, I know they probably, but when we move to a different facility, would that equipment be easily transported into?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so, open for public discussion.
So Michael, was this the only price that we got? Did we compare this to any other company?
We just requested Bay IT to do it. As far as I know, they only looked at, I don't know if they looked at multiples. It's under the threshold that technically requires multiple bids. So I would assume it's a system they've used in the past that they've had good success with, and that's why they sent it to us.
Any public discussion?
She's for or against it.
Well, having experienced in a lot of music, as you know, I'm a musician, that's a good price. I think you should take it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cotton. And I'm really trying to speak up, and I catch myself lowering my voice. But anyone else have any comments before we move to the table? Okay, so we're gonna close our public discussion and move to discussion at the table. Mrs. Hamilton.
I think in that case, it probably is a good price, and we should definitely go with it.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
I think BIT is really, they do this on a regular basis, they really knowledgeable about everything, and I think this was, if they recommend it, then I think we should do it.
Willie, any comments?
It looks very much like the old Civic Center ad. Push the button, click it on, click it off. Only thing for me is make sure it's secured in here. This is a working building and there's a lot of traffic in here. So just make sure it's somewhere locked and doesn't get dirty so we can extend the life as long as possible.
I'm good with Bay too.
Okay, I'll open for a motion that we move forward with the audio equipment for our council meetings.
I'll make a motion to approve the city council meeting audio equipment up to $1,700.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Tammy and Tammy, can you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Mrs. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Welling?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda, Debbie McClendon, not to exceed. Mr. Manning.
Sure, and real quick before I move on,
Okay.
BIT did a great job, but I also want to recognize the person who actually facilitated everything, which is Julie. So thank you, Julie, for pulling it all together. Just a better.
She gave me the thumbs up. That
She's the one that did all the work on that side for the city.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Julie.
All right, so the Debbie item. The next two items are going to be not to exceeds for subject matter experts. I think we're close to transitioning out of our previous arrangement with Debbie. So simply put, I'm requesting $3,375. Not to exceed that threshold for Debbie. That breaks down to about 5 hours left in the budget process, 20 hours for the audit support, and 20 hours for any remaining training that Ms. Lucas needs. Quite frankly, I view it as a pretty straightforward one, especially with the Mark Ryan one as well. She has significant institutional knowledge on how the city operates. There's no one better. So, that's all I've got.
Are you in both of these at the same time then, or will you?
No, you should still do it step by step.
All right, so I'm going to open to the public discussion.
Alex Hogan, 7th Street. We need to cut this umbilical cord. You know, why are we keep putting out money and money on people? We have hired an accountant. It's time for her to stand up and do her job. If she can't, then we find someone that can. I don't really see why we're continuing to pay thousands of dollars for Miss Debbie, and she's done a great service to us. But we need to cut this loose and be on our own and see what this new lady, Michelle, or I can't think of her last name, let her do her job. Thank you.
Any other public discussion? Okay, we'll move to the close the public discussion, move to discussion at the table. Start over here.
I would agree with not to exceed the amount listed.
I agree with it too, but do we know that's gonna stop here? I mean, what I'm saying is, Ms. Lucas in City Hall, we really behind, and we're gonna have to have somebody like Debbie, and I reckon we do have to have a limit on it, but I don't know if that's gonna be enough. What we do when we hit that amount? Come back?
You have to come back.
That would be the procedure. This guarantees that you won't go past $3,375 without your approval. And I think with how much training that Ms. Lucas has had to date already, I think this is the route to get there. But also, I would say, make no mistake, at $3,375, the city is benefiting dramatically more than Ms. McLeod. So.
I agree. That's, if we're gonna bring it back, but I think we're gonna run past that.
I agree with the not to exceed, but I do have one concern, and that is Mr. Hubbard is a finalist for our admin job. And if he gets this job, the second he starts, this needs to terminate,
Yeah.
regardless if it's over or not.
And I've already spoken with Debbie about that a while ago when he had submitted, and she made it clear that she also did not want to do work for the city if.
I just think that we need to make that clear in our motion, that this is
Any
over
motion?
immediately if he starts here.
The day he starts, yeah.
Please come.
And not to exceed the 3375 fine me also.
If you see the letter, the email that's in the packet, as I've told the citizens before, Michael and I and Ms. Lucas have been meeting on Mondays, up to the past couple of Mondays, when the meetings have been canceled. During the last meeting that Michael and myself and Ms. Lucas met, I asked Ms. Lucas how she was feeling. Was she feeling comfortable, prepared, and ready? And she said yes. I said, you know, if we could get Debbie off our payroll by the end of July, she felt comfortable. Michael felt comfortable at the time, and then he did come back at the end of our conversation and say, you know, I'll try to transition out by that date, but we may need to extend it, and I guess this is where we're trying to extend it. I don't think Ms. Lucas has gotten the best training. It's difficult when you're in the training with Michael and Debbie, that the conversation kind of it's told to me, has gotten off track many times. I want to know how much of this is going to go into continuing onboarding Ms. Lucas, or is most of this going to be between Michael and Debbie just doing our audit stuff? If it's only audit, Ms. Lucas is very knowledgeable about audits, and she would have the access to our auditors for assistance with that. So that's my take, that we need to, I'm still of the opinion we need to let Debbie go. $75 an hour, we can actually hire at 70, probably close to that. In fact, I talked with one accounting firm that does do it at $75 an hour. So I think we could probably get an accounting firm to help. And I do also have, I got a call on Saturday from Friday from Miss Lucas, that she needed assistance and was unable to get a form in for the state that was due that day at a certain time. And she needed assistance, and I called Callaway and I got her assistance. So she did get assistance in that. And then she calls me back and says that it was completed by Michael, Tammy, and Mary. So as she was getting the information pulled together, they were already working on it and got it pulled together. So I appreciate they're working on that and getting that in on time. But I don't know that the training has been the best possible training that we could have given the new accountant. And that's my opinion. So I will, any other discussion at the table? Yeah.
Maybe timing, but everybody knows where we stand with Ms. Lucas based on our last meeting. She hasn't accepted the job, full-time job, correct?
Correct. She has actually come back with a counteroffer, and everybody should have gotten that email.
Correct.
And that's why I thought that was coming to the table today for some reason. So, because the counteroffer was given, I think, the next day.
Yeah, so in the abstract, it has a detailed breakdown in terms of budget process, $375, audit support, $1,500, training, $1,500. In terms of providing support to Ms. Lucas, all city staff has gone above and beyond. We communicated throughout the process of the form, and to ensure we met the deadline, I did do that step rather than risk the city missing the deadline. So I don't think staff has been out of line on any of that.
I didn't say it was out of line. I just wanted to clarify that it was done, and that we did meet that deadline, and appreciate the staff for jumping in and doing that. But I learned by doing. So I would have wished that she had been put in on that conversation so she could have learned by doing. No, it wasn't a dig at you, Michael, by no means, trust me.
Yeah.
Or the staff, I really appreciate y'all doing it.
Yeah, and I received a message from Michelle Lucas on Friday as well, and unfortunately I was on a plane and
Yeah.
got yelled at by Stuart for answering. So, I was trying to help her through the DR 420 process as well, because she was trying to file it on Friday afternoon to make the deadline. And I kept responding with the same text message, call Diane Rathfield at Bay County. So,
And I think she did get a hold of her, she said. Okay,
My question would be, why did we wait till the last day?
that was my question too, but she did not get the information until that day. And she
Well-
had to even continue asking for it.
Who'd she ask?
I think it was, ask Michael. I didn't
the
get
only-
clarity on that, I was driving.
The only two pieces of information we utilized was the first tentative budget hearing date and the tentative millage rate, which had been established in public meetings.
And we didn't turn neither one of them in, did we? I mean, through staff, that's what I was told. That's why
Ultimately-
you say, and I don't know what Michael's gonna say, it didn't correspond that way. I don't think it did, because
I'm not following you, but ultimately we did submit the form, we got on track. It's a challenging role that Ms. Lucas is in as well, and my interactions with her have been good. I think there's definitely room for improvement, but I think her largest challenge, as the council's already diagnosed, is the part-time side of it, and the remote side of it. I mean, if she was in the office next door, we'd just pull her in and walk through the process. And I think the council's gonna come to a determination on that later, whether it's at the end of the meeting when we talk about next steps, or if it's on the next formal agenda. So ultimately, we got what we needed done. This type of not to exceed with Debbie will only help, not hurt, and we need to keep supporting all parties.
On the training side of it, does that training have to do with Springbrook, or does it have to do with how we operate it in Mexico Beach?
The training is not, this is how to use Springbrook type of training. It is, this is how we utilize our software and other items to do the role of city accounting. It's not just like Springbrook 101. It has nothing to do with that.
I got that. So have we reached out to Springbrook and asked for their assistance?
Yeah, we are in the process on that.
Now, I understand, Michael, that Springbrook also has accountants that will come in and help other than, would that be beneficial rather than having Debbie just to have the actual source?
We go through Springbrook for help. We go through another firm. My big thing is it's not that we need someone who understands accounting. We need someone who is the literal subject matter expert on our accounting. The knowledge she has, none of these other people who would have no idea about our books has. It's the literal subject matter expert. She knows exactly where to look for what. She knows what past invoices have been. She knows what past revenues have been.
Yeah, but
That's my recommendation.
You can't run a business like that. I mean, you can't put that dependent on one person continuously. I mean,
Oh,
at some
definitely.
point,
We need to
something's gonna
transition
change.
it out. And I think we need about $3,375 more aid from her. But we'll do whatever the council wants.
I would like to recommend that we get a firm to come in and just start our books and start getting these. If it's a firm here in Florida, they would be, and I think this has been Miss Lucas's biggest thing when she told me about this form, and I'm like, because I don't know about it. So I'm like asking questions, what kind of form are you trying to figure out? And the verbiage from what she was sent to the verbiage on the form, she said did not coincide, so she didn't know where these items went, but the other girl that I called knew where those items would go. So she was helping. Very nice, Emily out of Calvin. Yeah, write that down. Okay, so my thing here is, if we have a, and it wasn't that she didn't know how to do this, is she didn't know Florida's statutes and our forms. And I think if we get a firm to just step in now, let's start, get this off our plates, let's get everything straightened up here. They would be available too for Miss Lucas. Then we would probably be better off, and we'd have them knowing the state information, so. And that's, you know, again, my opinion. So, any other discussion before we move to the motion?
So are we deciding that she's not benefiting from the audit support from Debbie? So why would we want to pay another $1,500 for that? Was it said in this conversation that?
I don't think that right now, personally, this is me, personally looking at what I've seen and heard, moving forward, I don't think the city is benefiting from the $75 per hour that we're.
My thought being, can we deduct the $1,500 from the $33.75? If she's not benefiting from that, if she has another resource to help her with the audit, why would we want to pay that $1,500? Can we deduct that from the $33.75? If she's not benefiting from the audit support from Debbie and has another avenue to go down for that, can we do that?
I would say she hasn't benefited much from another $1,500 worth of training either.
So she's getting her audit training from outside auditors?
She has experience with audits.
Finishing the
Like
budget process.
30 years, I think she did.
The budget process is important to me. Diane Raffhill called my wife's cell phone on Tuesday looking for me because she was stressed about how this wasn't done. So that's how this all started, and said she couldn't get a hold of anybody at City Hall. So the budget process is most important to me. And also important is that this contract, again, terminates immediately if Chris is hired.
She's not under any contract right now. It's just the council saying, yeah, so nothing's been signed with Debbie at all on this. It's just, she's been very willing, and we appreciate her services. And she's been very willing to help out. But I too, again, think that these would not be beneficial unless, can you tell me about the budget? Where would the other 375 be?
Yeah, I would estimate that we have about 5 hours left to do to wrap up the changes from the last budget hearing.
Okay. So I'm good with the budget, if we want to just achieve that.
Do we also want to get someone from Springbrook to train? Oh, separate or not?
I don't think that would be beneficial personally. I don't think there's an issue with the Springbrook software for mine. I haven't heard, I'll put it that way, but I haven't talked to her a lot either about Springbrook. I've just very minimal contact with her actually. Meetings and a couple phone calls.
I gotta think that she has not been trained in it, and I think we asked her that. She was not, that it would benefit to get trained.
Well, she's been getting trained along.
Yeah, I think she told me in the meeting she was comfortable without Debbie. That's all I can go on. So does anyone make a proposal for any of these items? Or make a motion, excuse me, on the Jim Clinton not to exceed?
I have one more question, and I don't know the answer, and I don't know if anybody here does. Is the quarterly reports that were due in July in, or are they not in? I've heard conflicting information. I don't know if they're in or not. And if they're not in, we need help getting those done too.
So let me ask this. Why are we so behind if Debbie was here all the way through May?
She's here
And
through
then
June.
she's here through June. And now she's here through July.
Well,
So,
the quarterly reports should have been done in July, not in June.
okay,
But-
well, yeah. But we're behind on all these different
But have they been
steps.
done?
I think this is.
I would defer to the council and their employee. Once the position was moved from the city administrator to the council, I do not manage her day-to-day at all, in any regard.
And that's why I didn't think it needed to be a council thing, because there needed to be some accountability. But at the same time, it's past who we are, where we are today. We really need to consider a firm. And Michael, did you tell me we did not have an RFQ put out, or did not need?
We don't have RFQs.
We do not
out
need anything
yet.
out for that, or not?
Well, you do have two different ways you can go about it.
Okay.
You can competitively bid, which is likely the best way to do it. You can also find a company that already works for another municipality who went through the competitive bid process. As long as they've already been competitively bid, you can piggyback their existing contract,
Contract, yeah.
which is the fastest way to do it.
So we've got,
I'm sorry, I'd like to say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I know, speaking of the 941s, I reached out to Debbie and she said that Michelle had told her that she had completed the 941s. But Mary has not seen a check for us to write. So we haven't received any of that information. Mary has not. But Michelle told Debbie that she had completed the 941s, but we have not seen anything to submit the check to.
Maybe we got lucky and we were balanced the whole way through. Maybe they don't need a check. Rarely happens, but it's possible.
Are we waiting on the motion?
I'm waiting on a motion. Where do we want to go with this?
I'm
Well, we can take it multiple ways. We could take it to the budget only. We could take it to the whole thing. We could take it to training. We can take it to a firm. We've got the control right here to do what we feel we need to do that's best for our city.
I make a motion we approve the not to exceed $33.75 to David McLeod. Is that what you want on the whole? I know that's what you want.
It's what you want. You're the one making it.
That's what I want.
Okay, any seconds? Okay, we don't have a second. Do we have any other motions?
I make a motion that we go ahead and move forward with, have an expender not to exceed $1,000 to use miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous. Is that what you said,
I make a motion that we not exceed $1,000 to be used miscellaneous, whether it's for budgeting, training, or
Okay, so we got a motion to
audit support.
Debbie McLeod not to exceed $1,000. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Tammy, we
I
have,
have a point of information that I need before I can vote on this. Do we need to include in this motion, again, that this ends immediately, or is that understood?
I think we probably do need to.
I think
Would
would
you
be a
like
good
to,
idea.
would we like to amend the motion?
That's a good point. Hold on. I'd like to make a motion that we not exceed $1,000 miscellaneous with Debbie, and that we also make sure that
At no time
that we.
do they work at the same time.
Well, just for our relationship, if the city
It would
hires,
cease if we hire the
if
city
you hire
administrator.
Chris Hubbard, your relationship with Debbie McLeod ceases.
Okay, I think we're clear that we're going with, we have a motion for not to exceed 1,000 with the relationship ending immediately if Mr. Chris Hubbard is hired as a city administrator. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Tammy?
Okay. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
No. Okay, next on our agenda is Mark Ryan, not to exceed. Mr.
Thank you.
Manning?
Yes, so Mark Ryan is a professional from the Florida City and County Managers Association. He also does work through the International Association and the Florida League of Cities. He's well versed with being a city manager, with helping in charter reviews, all that kind of good fun stuff. One of the services that the association provides is these senior advisors to help with varying issues such as charter review. So this would be a not to exceed for the reimbursement of expenses for traveling and for one meal when he travels. The cost is inclusive to be each of the currently scheduled charter review committee meetings, as well as all of the meetings that it may come up with the council. Now, it's very likely that it may not come up in all of those. I think we budgeted for 4 meetings. It may only be 2. So I don't know if you'll necessarily get to the 1650 number. You'll probably be under it. But just to play it safe, we've estimated the maximum cost it could be.
I'd like to say something. We've had a couple really productive charter review committee meetings, and I think we've gotten a lot accomplished. And Mr. Ryan has really been a big help. I think for the amount of money he's just simply charging for gas and one meal.
Yeah.
And I think he's really helped.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up for public discussion.
Mark Cruz, Colorado. I haven't been able to attend any of the meetings, but I've watched them after the fact. And yes, I mean, this is, to me, another one of the no-brainers to approve this because he's done a great job. And actually, the people who are on the committee have done a super job, which kind of amazed me. I thought it was going to be a cluster at first, but it wasn't. It actually worked out real well. They're doing a good job. And this is something we need because this is the charter. So this should be approved because this is going to have a long-term effect on this city.
Thank you.
As a member of Charter Review, Steve Cox, 225 Charles Corner, you couldn't spend your money in a better place.
Thank you.
Tim Wondering, 105 St. Francis. As a observer of these meetings, I would recommend that you do include him as a subject matter expert. He has provided quite a bit of information. I think he recently provided a packet to the council that should be helpful in the charter committee. So I recommend you go forward with the MRC.
Okay. Any other? All right, we'll close the public discussion and move to the table.
I agree with the citizen comments.
I agree.
I also agree, and I have seen clips of the charter review. I haven't watched the whole one yet. And I want to echo Rock. Kudos to the charter review board. I had a vision a year ago for this committee, and I never imagined it to work as well as this appears to be working. So good job, and thank you all for serving.
Yeah, I'll also put out the kudos for the committee. They've done a great job. They have. And that's about all I have. I'm ready to go.
I have not watched any of them, but I've heard, comments from citizens. People call me, people text me, and they're so pleased with the committee, and I do appreciate y'all and all your work on it, and I think it's going to be a great thing for our city. So we'll move to a motion for Mr. Mark Ryan, not to exceed.
I'll make a motion to approve a not-to-exceed expense of $1,650 from Mark Ryan for professional services related to the Charter Review Committee.
Second.
All right, Tammy?
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Wesley.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda is the city administrator, no, excuse me, I checked one before. Sugar Sands, Farmdale, Annex discussion, and Mr. McHale.
Yes, I brought this, I had put this on the agenda simply because I'm looking for some direction from the city council. I believe Michael wanted to say something.
Yeah, if I could just kind of set the table for everybody. There was a meeting several months ago where they approached us talking about wanting to pursue the next phase of their development. So everything that we're going to talk about is not related to the current houses being built. This is about a secondary phase. It's about 60 residential units, I believe, and a small area of commercial. All of the proposed development is south of 98. They had started the conversation with Bay County. Bay County made it clear to them that Mexico Beach needed to give some type of approval because we are the water and sewer provider. So essentially, what I'm looking for the council to do is provide Clint with clear direction that we will provide the services, but we are requiring annexation into the city limits. The denial of that does not correlate to no development happening there. The development will still very likely happen in the county, in which case there will be new residents, new houses, and new commercial visitors all visiting your city who aren't paying the generated tax revenues for your city. So you'll still get all of the impact with no benefit. People will still come into this town to use your parks, use your beaches, use your docks, but they won't be paying for that service. So I would always recommend that you annex so that you actually generate the revenue associated with serving those residents. So really, at this point, all you're doing is providing direction to the attorney on whether or not you're going to require annexation, whether you're willing to provide the services. We have the capacity to do this. It's really just that first preliminary step. And I would also say, within your motion, you would authorize the attorney, whoever the administrators of the time, and the mayor to continue having negotiations and conversations with them as needed. And eventually that proposed agreement will come back to this body and the entire council would have to vote on it, and that's when you'll start seeing exactly what the plans are and debating the merits of that.
Because where we are right now is we have the development out there that is not annexed into the city. I believe someone told me there was a fire or something out there last week. We provided the fire protection and all that stuff, but we don't get any of the Avalon property taxes. So
Yeah. We have a slight, what, the
MST, it's
Yeah.
an MSTU that's paid to the city, so unincorporated Bay County people pay 1.38 mil for their fire tax as such. All that money is gathered in by Bay County, then it's paid to us on a monthly installment basis throughout the year. That is what they pay us to look after, any of the unincorporated, not just Sugar Sands, but
yeah.
all the unincorporated.
We lose the offset of the property tax, which is significant.
I actually spoke with Doug, and I actually spoke about this property, and he felt strongly that if we annex these houses in to the city, that possibly the Sugar Sands other development would see that they got great sewer and water services and would annex in.
Well, we do provide. We are providing them.
Provide them, but they would annex in because they get the garbage and the
The
whatever.
problem that happened with that is, from my understanding, talking to counsel for the developer, is that they had already started selling lots. And so you had individual owners. It wasn't as easy as just the developer comes in, asks to have it be voluntary annexed, and it's a simple process. If all of a sudden you have 50 different people that you gotta get into that process, just takes a couple to say, or one to say, no, I don't wanna do it, and where you at. So we're trying to get ahead of this before they sell any lots, before any development is gone on at all. How would, they propose to have it work? Bay County has handled all the permitting and everything for this process to this point, and has asked them to provide a letter from us stating that we'll provide all the water and sewer, and they'll let them go on with the permitting and development. So we would allow Bay County to go ahead, this is what's been proposed. That we allow Bay County to go ahead, finish all that permitting process, but before any lots are sold, before anything is done, we will not agree to provide them with water and sewer until the annexation process has begun and completed. And then they can sell their lots, then they can do whatever they're doing.
That makes more sense.
And I will say, they're chomping at the bit, because they came, it was March, I think it was the middle of March when they came in. And, we've had a lot of things happen in the last several months, so it kind of got put back. They're calling me like almost every other day, we need to get this going, we need to get this going. We're not beholden to their time schedule, but, we need to kind of go in. And how we've handled stuff like this, and I hate to always bring Port St. Joe into it, but how we do this is I'd ask the council to allow me, the current administrator, and the mayor to handle negotiations, get the best deal that we think we can get, and of course, it'd have to come back to the city council for final approval, or for you guys to look at it and go, yeah, we like it, but we like this change, and this change, because that's the only way we can get it done relatively quickly, or in any kind of time frame.
Okay, that makes more sense so what the current Sugar Sands does not get is our trash services, correct?
I don't.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So they got everything except our trash services.
Yeah, and we took over the maintenance of their lift stations and stuff like that too. So it's not an ideal situation that occurred, and that deal was entered into in 2017 under the former mayor, Tom Bailey, I think his name was. So it wasn't really a very good deal for us, and we need to make sure that this one is.
I vaguely remember that. Okay, so are we opening any discussion to the city?
Sure,
Like I said here, but
I'd like to hear whatever they have
I'd like
to say.
to, yes, sir.
Mark Bruce, Colorado. Yeah, I sat here 2017 when that happened down here, and they gave the water and sewage for 10% more.
25.
Was it 25? I was like, to me, that was stupid. I just couldn't believe that even happened, because those are multi-million-dollar homes down there. And it's like, if you would have just said no, what would they do? Go to Bay County and put in all their water and sewage and everything else?
I don't think Bay County's actually
I
agreeing
think-
to do the deal.
No.
We kind of.
Yeah, to me, whatever happened then was kind of lame. Now you have a chance to do something else with it, and this needs to be taken really seriously and done. Like Clint said, you need to get ahead of the game right now and get this done, because they're going to be here one way or the other, and all the houses that are going to be built there are at least going to be $1 million homes. I mean, these are a little further back from the beach, they're going to be multi-million-dollar homes. I know right now the fire chief is getting that money, a little bit what they're paying down there, but everything else is going to happen. Just like Clint said, we're all going to come here, use all facilities here and everything else. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer right now to try to get this 100% sealed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't get the money, the city gets the money. Just
Well, I've seen that big jet ski.
Very.
Go ahead.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. I just want the public to understand what all this entails, because I don't think everybody realizes just what these developers have in mind that they want to bring now into the city so that they can get our water and sewer. I wrote an email to Wayne Porter, who is the head of the Bay County Planning and Zoning Department. He gave me some very interesting answers. Mr. McCahill mentioned the deal that we got under former Mayor Tom Bailey, which everyone has been rather perturbed with all these years. This development that they're wanting to do is 120 acres on the south side, and the other 45 acres are on the north portion, for a total of 165 acres. And in 2019, they petitioned Bay County to raise the limits that Bay County had set, and there's a document that I have at my house. It's about 75 pages. They petitioned Bay County to lift the limit of 195 residential units to 400, and raise the limit of 50,000 square foot of non-residential, meaning retail, commercial, to 200,000. That's what they plan to bring in. So that's 400 additional houses plus 200,000 square feet. That's another small town. So we've got Old Town Mexico Beach, we've got the St. Joe development, which is New Town. Then we're going to have New Town. So that's two new towns that we're bringing in. Now, they split off with another developer who's involved in all of this. They split off a portion of what they told us would be conservation land. If you will remember, if you were here in 2017, there was the Sugar Sands condos, then a little bit of residential, and the rest up to the highway was supposed to be conservation. They split it off, 7 acres running from the entrance to Sugar Sands to Crooked Island Road, and zoned that commercial. And somebody in Mexico Beach signed off on that. It was never brought to the council. It was never brought to a public meeting. I have a suspicion that if you can get the documentation, which I was unable to get, that Mario Giesbert's name will be on it.
But I don't think...
Somebody approved that. It is now a strip of commercial land at the top of the conservation, and that land has already been given permission for an infrastructure for future development. That's already gone in, and there is an application pending with Bay County for that 7 acres to add a 95-room hotel and 24,000 square feet of shopping center. So I do not know if that is included in what you want to do, but that's already pending in Bay County. So there's a whole lot more to this than just saying, annex us. And it would be in the public's best interest and in the council's best interest. I don't care if they're chomping at the bit. May I continue just a little bit more?
I don't see, yes, I do.
Thank you. I don't care if they're chomping at the bit. It's not up to them. This needs to be in front of the public because it will affect every single property owner in this town. It affects the city overall. And this needs to be brought out, and there's specific plans on what they're wanting to bring in, because if we're supposed to supply sewer to all of this, I have news for y'all. I don't care what everybody says. My calculations and my documentation say we don't have the sewer capacity. We are also bringing in that much more traffic, that much more people. And this is not something that you just snap your fingers and annex in without all of this coming into play. So there's, I don't believe, enough information out. The correct information is not out. And this needs to be settled before any annexation is voted on. Thank you.
I can just say one thing?
Yes,
The
sir.
reason why no one in Mexico Beach ever signed off on anything, because it's not in Mexico Beach, it's in Bay County.
I know that, and we had this discussion in 2017 when Tom Bailey made his agreement. And Bay County said, we will in the future let Mexico Beach know when this happens. But nobody brought it to the council and nobody brought it to the public. So who knew about it? That would have been the city administrator. And then, if nobody knows about it, then we're out in the cold. And this is important enough that we need to pay attention and we need to bring all of the facts to the public.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the only thing they brought to us that was any usefulness was this map right here, which just shows 3 little chunks, most of which they've conveniently listed as conservation land. But as Lisa said, there's a lot in there. The actual designing of how this is all going to lay out, they still did through the county, which really shouldn't have even happened.
Had to, because it's not in
Yeah.
Mexico Beach.
Previous promises have not necessarily been lived up to, I would say. And that's what, again, why it's going to be so important, though, for the city to annex so that it can control the development process how it wants. If they're not annexed in, we don't get to control it.
But how they want to do it, I'm just telling you what they're saying, is they want to continue with the Bay County permitting process and everything.
They want to
And
continue.
that's the question that we would be.
They want to continue with the county for
Because
this specific.
they got to start over.
Yep. And what I think, what the council should demand is anything on the north side is exclusively through the city. Would be my recommendation.
When you say the north side of
98.
Of 98, so in the future.
Yeah, because they own that as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, ma'am, go ahead.
Hey, my name is Leanne Poole. I live in Sugar Sand, 127 in Sugar Sand, in the new development. So my understanding is you're talking about this annexation not affecting current homeowners. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Because this is very eye-opening to me too, because as a person involved with his property there, and then so many things changed after that. We were told it was a very small development, and it was next to, this great town we've been coming to my entire life. And so this surprised me too. So it's not really what we were expecting as people who purchased land there originally, and have spent a great amount of time and expense building there with the promises of the developer of it being a small community is what was sold to us. And it was, in Bay County, those property taxes. We were told all that, and everybody likes to pay those property taxes when they can, but I certainly understand when we need to do our fair share too. But I did just want to make sure that you were talking about something new and not applying to current.
No, it should be new.
homes. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Tim Linderman, 105 St. Francis. So, I do have a bit of experience in annexation in other states with cities. And I just want to...
Your time's
Ready?
up. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Mr. Linderman.
I just want to, I agree, it's interesting some of the things that Lisa brought out, but I want to, I think you need to look at the big picture, and you may already know this, but I think you need to do a cost analysis of what this is going to cost the city for the city services, because there are many things that are included when you annex. Police, fire, building inspections, code enforcement, we already talked about water and sewer. What streets and sewer upkeep, stormwater, sidewalks, trash, well, we talked about lift stations. So how much of this, and when you look at the building of it, are they going to put in the streets and the sewer and the sidewalks and everything? I assume they are, and they will assume responsibility at some point. So, but before, this looks like might look like a good deal, aside from what it's going to do to the size of the city, if that's good or bad. But there truly needs to be a cost analysis. The other thing is, it wasn't quite clear to me as far as the geography of this and the annexation. Is there anything between the city and this subdivision, so we're not jumping over space that we're going to have to annex to get there as part of the rules of annexation?
No, that's the city.
Okay, so there's a lot, my point is, there's a lot more to this than just, hey, I think we need to do the analysis, look at all this, ask some questions, and then we are in the driver's seat, not the developer on this. And it's also our opportunity, when development like this comes in, to also ask them to do things for the city. It could be parks, it could be some kind of recreation facility, but it's also, we have some leverage at this point possibly. So take a look at those things is my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just clarification, by this annexation,
Okay.
by Alex Hogan for 45 Center Street. Anyway.
We know you, Mr. Hogan.
Thanks. And you answered, by annexation, I don't quite understand. Well, now, will they be subject to our comp plan and LDC? Or LDR?
This is, and that's why there's a lot more stuff. They're under the permitting process of Bay County right now.
Now, correct.
So, yes, I mean, no, I mean, they're not.
But
as of right now,
if we annex them, they will be or will?
They will be, but they will be, and they'd have to come to us for a development order and everything else.
It depends on the quality of the deal that's negotiated as well. For this specific part, if they annex on the north side, definitely. But on this specific part, it's going to come down to the quality of the deal that you guys negotiate.
And so we could run up to the same thing on Canal Street where a section there didn't have to comply with setbacks and all of our other ordinances and plans. My point is, that need to be clarified.
We don't want to annex a pig in a pub.
That's right. And then if we do annex and we do take up responsibility, do we have the staff to take this additional responsibility? The building department, do we have code inspectors, enough of them, to go out and start, checking all this development that's going on? I mean, it's a monster. And so that's why we're having houses that are being built that don't comply, because we don't have the inspectors to go out and check them out. Does our little fire truck out here, is it going to be able to cover, a 60-foot, houses? There's a lot to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment? Okay. So I'll close public comment. It's a lot to consider. I would like to recommend a workshop, give citizens comments on it. let them come and
Let
talk to us.
them come in and give us a
Give them a
presentation.
presentation, tell us really what we're looking at.
I have one concern with this, just because I'm thinking out loud. If we don't annex them, they continue down the Bay County permitting path, correct? Yes. So the best way to stop that is to annex it, and then it is our rules before they go too far. Am I confused?
They've gone a significant way under the Bay County.
So do we
And they
have
want to stick to that,
So-
and that's going to be a.
So if we annex though, do we have to honor what they've done with Bay County? Or is it now our rule?
Well, that's gonna be what's in this agreement.
Yeah, because Bay County might give them 60 feet, we only allow 48.
That's
So,
a problem.
You know, a workshop's great, but I think we need to get moving, and I think you and the attorney and Michael need to start having meetings with them to negotiate something.
I do too.
I want to say I have negotiated one thing, or started a negotiation with Michael on one, it was.
We had that Sweetwater.
Sweetwater,
meeting.
yeah, that was Sweetwater, one, so I would definitely need a good, strong person to help.
I don't think a workshop is necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, but I think it needs to be quick. It needs to be
But we
quick,
need to
but-
get it scheduled.
I don't think it's a bad thing to have a workshop either at some point, but I honestly believe that, and I don't underestimate your talents, any of you at the table. I do question the experience to be able to do that and having the right people in there. Are there some right people we should get some?
Well, I would definitely
I
be consulting
think we
with
can- I was
all
gonna
of
say
our
we can
department
pull in-
heads and
pull in all our
do we have the
departments.
capacity? Can we
Should
do
we
this?
put the team together as far as 5 or 6 people versus 3 of you?
That's not, but we can,
Yeah,
we can pull them
we can pull
into.
the,
But
yeah,
that's,
I would never
the
go
more
into it.
expertise we have on our side, the better.
This is big negotiations. This is
Right.
not.
This is not a joke.
It's not.
And we can,
Yes.
could
Well, I
something,
said we
if we
need
do it
somebody really
wrong,
strong.
we'll be suffering the
Yeah.
consequences
I
for a long
believe we
time.
do- I believe we do that, and then we come back and we have a workshop, and we talk to our citizens about it after we get a professional team together.
Okay.
Last time was not the right way, and I don't want to go down that path again. It happened quickly, and I think floored everybody because it was done before I think anything was even public.
Really?
So, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I was the clerk at the time and did some math, and I was trying to argue and say 25% does not offset the millage rate, and suddenly it was over. So,
Yeah. We don't want to move fast on this for sure. We want to move diligently in the right direction with the right people and the citizens' voice because it will impact us all.
I'd like to reiterate, let's remember what people have been saying here. We control this. It is not up to the developers to dictate to any of us. I don't care how hard they're chomping at the bit. It is up to us to decide how this goes, and it works for the betterment of the city and the residents, not for the benefit of the developers. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're right.
You're right. Absolutely. And I think that's what we're saying here. I think all of us
Yes.
agree with that. So how, does anybody have any suggestions on how we want to move forward with this specifically?
Do they need a vote or just consensus?
I think just a consensus would be fine, just how you want us to move forward.
Go negotiate the best deal, essentially.
With everybody that we need to pull in for their expertise to make sure everything is right.
and schedule a meeting with it all together.
Yeah, then schedule a workshop.
Or maybe just a preliminary meeting, us with the developer, and then we do a workshop after we get more information. And I was thinking, but they're gonna have to come up with a lot more detailed information with what they're proposing.
And with our experts, builders and
Yes.
everything. Okay. I'm good with that. We are not.
Just meetings taped or videoed or something, have some documentation of the meeting.
I take great note.
Yeah.
And I think
We'll have legal counsel.
There you go.
between the administrator, the attorney, and the mayor, that's who needs to have those meetings.
Yes.
Okay. For sure, and whatever you want to bring in.
And then and then I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a workshop and put it all out there in front of the public and hear their
Where
input.
we really have some details.
And when we got something to tell you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment
That's fine.
that as the council, honestly, I know y'all are busy, but this is hugely important to our city. And if you're talking about the preliminary negotiation with the developer, I don't think there's anything wrong with all of you
I
being
agree.
there, as well as Glenn and Tommy and our fire chief. Because, you know, it's gonna, the impact of this is the biggest thing.
The only problem is we can't have all these guys
Well,
We can't have them in the room. Because
together.
Well, maybe your negotiations is done at a time that
Let
there
me-
can be a Zoom meeting, so they're not all in the same room together.
Let me reiterate, this will not be a preliminary, this will be an informational meeting to get started.
So
It'll be
could the entire
informational for
council
us.
be there?
No, not together.
We're not gonna negotiate anything. We're gonna get information and then
I
bring
just
them
want you
back.
all to have the most information you can possibly have to
Right.
make this kind of decision.
So we'll gather the information.
Any final decisions can be made
and then-
right here
yeah,
with you
yeah,
guys
we'll
sitting
come back
there
here. Absolutely.
on the TV there.
I just want all five to feel like they've been adequately, you know,
And
as
I-
part of that.
And I can
I think that's our goal.
speak to each one of them individually and keep them up
Yeah.
to date with what we got going on.
Yeah,
It's just,
they can.
it just makes it, you know, sunshine law is tough to do.
Exactly. Okay, so more to come.
Thank you for the direction.
Thank Bring you. Okay, we're gonna move forward to the city administrator discussion.
All right, so when we were publishing the agenda, there hadn't been the determination out of the special meeting yet. So this item originally was going to be y'all selecting your top 5. Obviously, that's already happened. One item I did do, it was asked that I prepare some generalized questions that you may or may not want to use, so I did that. And then the only other item is we had called the special meeting to start at noon. So I believe the council should show up at noon, open the meeting, and then take a recess formally until your first interview, which I believe is at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
We have a 2 o'clock and a 3 o'clock. Then I would suspect that the council will open it to public comment and then discuss what y'all want to do, whether that's hire someone, schedule more interviews, keep getting applications, whatever it is the council wants to do.
So be here at noon.
Yeah, it'll be quick before you schedule a recess, but yeah. We should, in my opinion, you should still open the meeting at noon, which is the advertised time.
You gotta call the meeting to order, recess it, see everybody at 2.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so anything else you got to? Okay, so let's move to the public discussion. Oh, public discussion. And please set that timer.
Lisa Logan, Fullerton, Maryland. I would like for the council to consider 2 things. One, do not rush into this decision. We've been here in this situation before. We took a break. Several months, we brought in interim city administrators. That worked out. It was a little confusing, but it worked. And then we sent out another request for applicants, and we got some very good ones. I would urge you to consider that action. We have a potential interim here, so I think that you should consider doing that. I also think that you should consider the interim we have right now, Michael. I know that he has committed to another job and he has tendered his resignation, but I would like for y'all to take the opportunity to talk to him and see if you can change his mind. I believe that he is a valid candidate. And I think that you would be remiss in your duties if you did not take the opportunity to at least try this. So, those are the 2 things. But this is another huge decision. We've been down this road before. It's been a rocky one. We need some stability, and we need some people in here who can handle everything that's coming down the road at us. Thank you.
Shelby Bush, 130 Palm Street. Michael, I asked you not too long ago how old you were, and I was shocked to hear your age. But it's not about how old you are, it's how capable you are. And I certainly think you've shown that. The other thing is, you talked earlier about adding background checks. You don't have to be an FBI agent to Google somebody's name. And the candidates that you have coming in one has history here, and just Google their names. Start there. Why are you interviewing somebody that behaved the way they did when they were here before? And I realize people make mistakes, but like everybody has said, this is a very, very important position. You don't need an FBI background check to see public documents that are out there on your candidates. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Hi, Shannon Jones, 78 First Street. I was at home watching online this morning because I was saving my energy for this afternoon. But now we have two candidates, it won't be a long afternoon. I guess my question is, I'm not understanding why candidates were called. So if I could get a response to why they were called? Is that my understanding that
Yeah, I can
candidates
answer.
that were to interview today were called?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Okay.
I called every one of them to ask if they had any questions for me. The first thing I said is, thank you for applying. I look forward to interviewing you tomorrow. And I said, do you have any questions that you want to ask prior to that meeting in not a public forum? I've interviewed for these jobs before. It's awkward when you're in a public meeting. And Mr. Marsh says, I'm in the car driving right now. I'll see you tomorrow. It was a bad connection. Phone call was over. Mr. Day stated to me that we talked a lot in 2018 when he applied for the job, and I was the clerk. We talked twice. I didn't remember that. But he told me I was very helpful then, and he appreciated me calling. We talked about CAM business, because I have an HOA management company. That's what he does as well. We talked about that. He said, I heard there is a newspaper article out there that has some alleged allegations against me that's been published in your town. I said, I have not seen an article. I've heard of it. I have not read it. And I said, just be prepared to answer any questions from it. I thought our conversation went very well, and I was floored when the email came out that he withdrew.
I just question your agenda. I question your purpose and your honesty and integrity.
I called all three.
Well,
Did you ask the other council member why he called?
I called just to congratulate him, to thank you for applying for the job. I was not in the car or the room with Mr. Wheatley. Take my word for it, I wasn't. But I did call both of them people and ask them and thank them for applying for the job. So I'll call Mr. Day and I will ask him after the meeting. Was I in the room with him?
Can we
Yeah, I hope we can.
pull this back to our citizens? Okay.
Bill
Thank
Howard,
you.
212 Howard Highway, just a clarification. Earlier in the meeting, you said you called 3 people.
Correct.
A few minutes ago, you said you called all of them.
All three for today, yes.
Chris included?
Yes.
But
He was not yesterday. I talked to him last week because I know Chris.
and it seems kind of odd that you got people got 2 calls back to back, warning them about what they're getting into.
Warning them?
And
But Terry,
let's, point of order, let's just stay on track with our business, please. Mr. Tim?
From Linder and 105 Francis. So it is concerning the things that have been brought up that are in Google. But I would caution everyone that they're in the media. I've seen how certain articles can be written, how certain political watchdogs can spin things. So yes, we should be concerned, and I think you should address questions to, you have to be fair, so you're gonna have to ask the same types of questions probably to all the candidates. And today would be the time to address that, I think, and then, given the circumstances, do a no-kidding background check. I agree with what's been said. When you get your initial candidates, there probably ought to be some initial search to see if there's any information that concerns us. But do not be, as Jerry reminded me earlier, don't be quick to judge something just because it appeared in a newspaper article. And in most cases, I didn't see that they were actually found guilty. It was an accusation. And we don't know that there was a retraction to that at some point. And I've seen other people in this administration who had articles about them, and there was more to the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to clarify, when I said Google, I meant valid police reports. I hope the questions are going to be put out there. I'm not a person that reads something on Facebook or on the internet and just believe that it's true. But when you
Bush,
have,
can you address the council?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
just know that it's about public reports that are government reports, police reports, things that have come from our former council. Yes, I agree. But I'm not a person that reads Facebook and just believes everything is true, or believe an article and think that it's true.
Right.
If I did that, I would believe that, we have council members that sleep through meetings, and pictures of getting people when their eyes are closed.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That's just being ugly and unkind. What I want to see is a fair interview. I'll look at you. A fair interview, but also look at those reports that are out there and, the vetting process in the future.
I was not accusing you.
Well,
okay.
Please understand.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Take your
thank you
name.
there, Ms. Bush. Alex Hogan, 425 7th Street.
Thanks, sir.
I have seen these articles that most of you probably already seen in the newspaper. I've also done my own Google research. And I'm like Ms. Bush. I've been around computers for a while, and I've done research for a while. And so I always tell anyone, consider the source. Where is it coming from? And there's always bias in anything. So I take all that into consideration. And I looked at these three candidates, and I've read them, and I've Googled them. And quite honestly, I'm not sure any of them are worthy of our leadership. I do, honestly, in my opinion, they have some ethical and integrity issues. And we don't need that. We're in a building stage. We sure don't need anything like that. And somehow I have a feeling and a sense that some minds have already been made up of who you want.
Hello?
I like the music.
Hello.
That's okay. Be as it may, please, when we have these interviews, consider what you said at the beginning. This is not a done deal. We don't have to hire anybody right away. We need somebody that we trust, you trust, and more importantly, that they trust. And quite honestly, I don't think any of these people out here trust the current candidates. Thank you.
that was well said.
Yes, sir.
George Gill, 124th Street. I'd just like to reinforce what Mr. Hogan said. I've got a little bit of experience in law enforcement, and Mr. McHale, you may disagree, I don't know, but it's been my experience that all police reports, all law enforcement information is within the public domain, and it's available to any citizen that wants to ask for it. Most government records, council records, minutes, videos, are public domain. So it's not just a matter of gossip. It's not just a matter of reading a local newspaper and getting a biased report. Any citizen can request from the clerk of the circuit court official information on criminal activity, on wrongdoing, on bankruptcies. So,
you can get a lot of it just from the computer. You don't have to.
well, that's what I think everybody's saying. Put a name in Google and search it.
Or you can go right to the clerk's office.
And you can do that as well. I only know one of the 3 candidates that made the interview process. I lived here. I'm familiar with the one, and I think everybody knows. We don't have to make a decision. We can re-advertise. We can look for an interim city administrator. There's a couple living within the city limits that have experience. So please, listen to the folks that are talking to you. Don't jump to judgment on this. This is, in fact, the most important position in our city. And we've gone through a number of them for various reasons. So take your time, do your homework, do your research, vet each individual, and pick us a winner, please.
That's our goal. We're gonna find a winner. Okay, any other public? I'll close the public, bring it to, close the public discussion, bring discussion to the table. I do want to say that I did make a phone call yesterday and talk to Mel, and he is interested in coming in and being our interim until we can find someone. I said, you can also put in an application, but he didn't seem quite as, yeah, I'll do that, as he was, yeah, I'll come and help you guys out. So, just want to put that on the table for discussion.
So
as well
those
as
who
other
don't know
discussion.
Mel from the past,
Mel,
he was,
and you'll have to pronounce his last name.
Smigelski.
so he was a past city administrator, is that correct?
Yes, he was a past
Okay.
administrator, and
Okay.
everything I've heard, and I did my research, I Googled, and I did other things, and to me, he's got great integrity.
He's currently on our charter review.
And he's on our charter review, so he would probably have to come off the charter review, but
That's
he's,
too bad, because he's really helped.
yeah, he is, but, you know. Yes, sir?
I'll tell you, I called Mel last week as soon as Michael resigned and said, I don't know how fast we can move. Would you be interested in an interim job if it happens? He told me the same. Mel was like an intern or a mentor to me. So I think most of you understand I have a very strong love for Mel. I have a very long history with Mel. He was like my mentor and has helped me out a lot. Another thing to know is there's been 9 administrators here in 10 years. Not one of them was loved by everybody here. There are people in this audience that called me, get rid of Mel, bring back Chris. There are people in this audience that said, get rid of Doug, bring back Chris, or bring back Mel. No one has ever been loved by everybody. So keep that in mind when we go through this process as well.
Yeah. And I think everybody's goal at this table is to get someone who is going to be long-term. And a lot of administrators are not long-term. They go into it. I've talked to several, Doug included. Like, they know, and I've talked to people at the training I went to. They know that sometimes when new administration comes in, things change. I don't want that to happen to us. I want whoever comes in, whoever comes in as this administrator is hopefully going to be long-term administration for us. The longer they're here, the more likely they are to love our city and take care of our city in the way we would just like when we have a guest at our house, we want them to treat our house as if it's their home. We want that home to be treated like we would do it. So,
And across the country, it's about, the statistical numbers show that it's somewhere between 4 and 5 years for the city administrator, so that's not a good number.
Yeah, the last thing on Mel is, my respect for Mel showed through, and that's why I appointed him to the Charter Review Board. So, I can't say enough good about him.
I I actually called Mel as soon as I
Smigelski?
Say it again.
Smigelski?
Smigelski.
I typed a lot of minutes, S-M-I-G-I-E-L-S-K. Smigelski.
And I actually, as soon as I got mayor, I was talking to Mel. Just, picking his brain. Bit about what I'm getting him into and how I proceed to, launch. So he's been a great asset to me as well. And I was proud to hear that he was on our review board. And I was really proud yesterday to hear that he was still interested in helping us out.
But he was very firm in his not long-term when I spoke to him.
Well,
I don't know if he was to
he
you.
wasn't real firm, but I was like kind of pushing it. You always could. Let's just one step at a time, and he agreed. So yes, and we'll continue our search.
Do we have anybody in-house that maybe we thought about that works for the city now?
I think Michael's.
Yeah, and what I would also offer, you don't need to make any decisions on an interim until after your interviews and you determine if you're going to hire someone or not. And then if you were going to determine that, you determine when their potential start date is. If the potential start date is after my departure, then is when you need to decide if you need an interim or not at all.
And I was going to have a conversation with you after this, but apparently people don't like to have conversations with people individually, so can we have it now? Is there any possible way that we can convince you to stay?
That's not all I got to dig.
That's not appropriate. Not appropriate.
You're allowed to ask hard questions, but not that challenging. I would definitely say go through your interview process, see if you fall in love with somebody during the interviews.
You don't have to answer that. We can talk about it.
I really, this is me again, I really think we need to, just because Michael's last day is, what, the 15th? Yeah, so that's like a week away. And I don't think that we're gonna hire somebody and have them here in-house in a week. I think we need to do our due diligence. I think we need to talk about Mel. He's willing to come, let's get it set, and we can, this is an ask. So if something changes, we can always undo our ask. But it's an ask, so.
We don't have anybody in-house besides, just here that could do it.
You have other directors who may be interested, I'm not sure.
To me, that would be the way to go. I like Mayo, but I'm just saying in-house,
Well, when you take someone in-house, this is just me again.
Fill the other position.
You have to fill the other position, or you take away from them doing if they're trying to multitask, and that's not good for our city. We need to be focused on more. We need to do our due diligence with a city administrator hiring, and we need to do what's best for our city. And 7 days, like Michael told me, to get, Debbie off our books, 7 days to get somebody in here is not really gonna be doable. So I would entertain a motion.
Well, if I had to offer one more thought, I would just cross the bridge this afternoon when you find out what you need exactly, and I don't know, maybe we can.
We have 2 candidates in town and interview scheduled, and we have a discussion on this after those interviews. I think we can discuss the interim and all that at that time.
I don't want to come to the table and be told that that's something I shouldn't have been talking about, like I was told last.
I assume
it's on the
agenda.
agenda.
An interim.
It's
afternoon, right?
Which, last time she was an actual part of the discussion. She had an application in, and that's when I moved it forward when she was a selection. So I thought it was appropriate to discuss that. But at the same time, I want to make sure that this afternoon is appropriate time.
I think it's listed the exact same as it's listed now.
Yeah,
Everybody
city
good with that?
administrator discussion, I don't think that'd be a problem.
Okay. Is
Hiring an intern would be a city administrator discussion.
Okay, so what is our motion approval on this particular item?
My
This is
concern,
just a-
excuse me.
sorry.
My concern is, we only have 2 candidates today to interview. I would like it to be noted that we not make a decision, if that's possible, but we leave that open so that we have the avenue to interview more people, only 2. That doesn't give us much choice there. How do we go about possibly opening that up to, okay, you're physically here in town, we'll go ahead and interview today, but let's leave it open that we have the option and don't have to make a decision with those 2.
I don't think we told them that.
I just want to make sure that's
decision.
clear, that we will not make a decision today.
You're not required to make a decision today.
Okay.
I believe Ms. Gatewood as well technically withdrew, but also said that if it was possible to interview at a later date, that she'd be interested in that. So that's always an option, but I would just cross all those bridges when you get to them. Interview your 2. If you like them, move forward. If you don't like them, back to the drawing board. We've continued accepting applications. The job is still posted on those job boards. So,
And at that point too, we're interviewing, and we're not making any promises, and if any promises have previously been made, they shouldn't be. But at the same time, we have to move forward, and we're interviewing, and we'll continue interviewing until we find the right person. And if one of the candidates today end up being that right person at the end of this, so be it. But yeah.
To be
Options
continued.
are open.
To be continued, absolutely.
Options
So
are open.
we're not closing any doors here. We're trying to keep doors open. This again is what I would like us to think, and if we got to think until 3 o'clock and decide if Mr. Mel is what we want to move forward with, we need to do that. As it's our, we have a job to do here at this table for our city and the citizens here. So, is there anything we need to do as far as motioning, or are we
I don't think so.
moving forward? Okay. So I'll close the discussion at the table, no motion needed.
I have one that was in line with the administrator that I struggle with, and I think probably some of you at the table do. One of the lack of unity that we have between the 5 of us is a little hindering in this situation. In that, we come together and we come in here and we pray and we pledge our allegiance to the flag, and that's the close unity that we have. But when it comes to the city government here, we have conflict and division.
Is this about the city administrator?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. Just want to make sure, because, we're moving down.
Yeah. So as a majority at this table, we agree that the government should run the way it is, and there's a couple, not a couple, there's a minority that does not believe that. So with that said, I'm thinking about the city administrator and hiring a city administrator, and I'm saying, we don't agree to a simple thing. If we were asked by one of those candidates a simple question like, who do I work for? We'd be divided in that. And I don't understand why we can't come together on that unity and get through this. We put together a committee, a charter review committee. That process is a charter review committee, a council approval, and the citizens vote before we make any change. Why can't we agree to go forward doing that until that's accomplished? We need unity at the table.
I think we've been doing quite well myself.
Well, ma'am, you said
We're moving forward. Change takes time.
I don't want to argue about it. I'm just making a statement.
Okay, does this have to do with the city administrator? Once again.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you move forward to tell us what about the city administration?
I would like to
position
see,
you would talk
I'd
about?
like to see agreement at the table that that candidate or city administrator reports to the council.
The city administrator is hired and fired by the council. And like Michael has done, like Doug has done, they report
Works
to
at the
us.
pleasure of the council. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes, sir.
If we can all agree to that, that's unity.
I don't think that's anything we have to agree on, but it's.
I believe that's huge until the charter is done, absolutely. It's a form of government, model of government that we have here. And it's been challenged.
Are we planning to work any different with a new city administrator than we've been working with Michael or Doug or any other administrator?
Yes, ma'am. I
They
gotta think.
They come to the table
I
and
gotta
bring
think
us
that
stuff.
Mr. Baber, personal conversations with him, and Mr. Manning,
So this
both
has
had
to
a
do.
challenge in that area.
Okay, let me go back. Does this have to do with this city administrator position?
Yes, it does.
Position.
I'm done, Mayor Miller, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to our staff reports. City administrator?
Sure, yeah, a few. Glenn, do you have an update?
I do. I just want to tell the council and the public, Mike has been great to work with. He's very intelligent. He could have came in here, been real pushy, things he didn't know. He talked to people. He learned from the knowledge that all of us knew, allowed us to do our job. We didn't always agree, but I understood the position he was in. He had a different perspective. And it's been great working with Mike. I just wanted you to know that.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Mark. You stepped into some big shoes and you've done a great job.
Thank
So, okay.
All right, a few quick updates to run through. So as we discussed, we'll see all of each other back here at 12 o'clock. We'll do a quick recess after that.
Okay.
We had some challenging breaks over the weekend, both on water and sewer. So I just want to recognize and thank our staff. They worked countless hours over the weekend fixing those issues. Thank our contractors and our municipal partners that we relied on during that. In terms of special events, I definitely want to echo what Mr. Coleman had said earlier about we have first-class facilities, and the reason we have first-class facilities is because of the staff that maintains them, through Tommy's department and more. They do an outstanding job, so I want to recognize them. And then as promised, I distributed the city accountant's counteroffer to each of you yesterday, I believe. So that's an item that I think that we should put on the next regular agenda, and you all decide what you want to do in terms of, do you want to accept the counteroffer, create your own counteroffer, whatever it is we can do. So I don't know if you want to have any preliminary discussion today or not, but no matter what, I'll definitely make sure it's on the next agenda for that item. And if there's nothing on that, I just want to say overall, I want to thank the council, each of you, for the unanimous support on selecting me when I was the interim. Thank all the community. A lot of folks came up and asked me to apply, so I really appreciate that, I do. And the staff's been tremendous, so it's been the best group I've ever worked with. It's a special group, so I hope keep trusting them and what they're good at, and I think you guys will be just fine. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Quinn?
I don't have anything to do.
All right. To the council? Ms. Linda, do you have anything? Mr. Jerry, nothing?
We got, what, 40 minutes, 35 minutes to be back?
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
I've got one quick one. Dina, welcome back to the party. I'm glad to see you here. Congratulations on going to Atkins. And there sits some incredible institutional knowledge of this city. I'm happy to see you here.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, and I got y'all speed dial. Okay. Nothing? Okay, so we will have our upcoming meeting start at 12. We'll adjourn, start at 2 again, and then our next city council meeting will be August the 22nd at 6. I move to adjourn. Second. Motion and second. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys. Great job.